Hi everybody. Just wanted to make a quick video. The family's out at the museum, the High Desert Museum. I got the job with a company I'm excited about in Nevada, so I'll be moving there shortly. I wonder what you guys think of things like the meetings in Davos as a normal human, which, the majority of us are. I find it pretty extraordinary that the people that control everything have all the money, all the power. Uh, I'm being sensational, but not far off. Seems so wildly out of touch from, I'd argue, reality. I, for one, don't feel good being pandered to, and it's extremely obvious when it's occurring, in my opinion. That is to say, when somebody's being disingenuous. And it seems super obvious to me that these, financiers and aristocrats in large part at the Davos, Switzerland meeting are disingenuous. They're threatened by people like Musk, and they hate Trump. And Javier Milei was sensational in his speech, detailing why collectivism is a path towards poverty. I've never been a big Trump supporter. I've never voted Republican in my life, but it's increasingly obvious the plans of the Democratic establishment and the big money in the United States political apparatus, that they're working really hard to keep Trump from getting to the finish line. And it seems, interestingly enough, to only be endearing him more and more to his base. So I find that we're in a really interesting time in American politics, global politics, and just kind of global social order. Ray Dalio, if you're familiar with him, has been talking about the New World Order for some time. It's clear that debt levels in the Western world are out of control, and that's just the debt that's on the balance sheets. We've seen stories that there's trillions of dollars in derivative debt that's potentially going to wake up and make its way into the economy. So it's just an interesting time to be a human person with a job that has a family, seeing these kind of extra human forces, these forces of capital, these forces of debt, these forces of social control, dominion, globalist organizational power. It's very fascinating to me, and I'm not some expert, but I am somebody who's interested and curious. And so I put it to you, like, what's your take on Davos? What's your take on the political atmosphere in the United States right now? What do you think about Javier Milei, who has really turned a corner in Argentinian economics, coming from a culture that was richer than Spain at the turn of the century, in the beginning of the 20th century, early 1900s, and went through hyperinflation. And it can be pointed to that state control and redistribution of wealth and collectivism was to blame, and that the West, capital W West, all of the kind of free countries of the world are flirting with collectivism again in the guise of neo-socialism, communism, Marxism, equity theory, this weird kind of revivification of virtue, identity politics, virtue as value, and I just don't buy that shit. Like, I don't want to tell you how to live, and I don't expect to be told how to live. I just want to have opportunities to be successful based on my work. And that's the promise of the United States, and it ought to stay that way. And I think that we're seeing, a dragon wake up when this kind of communist, administrative state, managerialism, middle managers, the offended, you know, tattletales trying to take control of the country, and have done it in large part in places like the universities and in Hollywood and in the political establishment. But there's still a huge electorate and working class in this country and elsewhere that, you know, keeps the lights on, you know, and shows up in the ambulance when you call 911, you know. And these folks are good people. They're hardworking people. They're working to support their families, and they're not interested in what you think about their politics. They don't give a fuck. They're just living their lives. And so I just think that there's an interesting turn of the tide where we've been moving towards collectivism, but I think that, you know, nationalism, individualism, you know, I've always been intrigued by Eastern philosophy, and I think that the ideas of, you know, mysticism, the celebration of the unknown, are coming back in the face of the would-be tyrants of, you know, Davos. At least those that think that they understand the world in its entirety, as opposed to having the grace to understand that we're all just living as constituent parts of it. You know, we lost God in this country, and that has been to our detriment. It has, you know, eroded the family. I would argue, you know, personal morality, sovereignty, autonomy, responsibility, because that's what collectivism does. That's what these identity politics worldviews do. They conflate the self with a group, and in doing so ameliorates any individual responsibility, and conveys some weird kind of unearned virtue. And it's my experience that anybody that's worth a shit doesn't subscribe to that crap. You know, good people want to be evaluated based on their personal accomplishments, choices, etc. So I'm interested in your thoughts. Just wanted to make a quick video. Individualism versus collectivism. Where do you stand? Love you guys. Thank you.